Welcome to Sharika Talks, Unraveling the Truth, a journalist's quest. Subscribe for the truth.
Chapter 53, Nagapashabandhana. Sachin felt his heartbeat spiking, a jagged rhythm against his ribs. He opened his bag and took a long swig from the Bacardi bottle. As the burning liquid oozed down his throat, he immediately regretted it as his rational mind screamed in protest. He was already sleep-deprived and completely out of water. Alcohol would only accelerate his dehydration, he knew. But the lizard brain, the part of him that was terrified, needed the sedative. Focus, he commanded himself. He wiped his mouth and forced himself to think. He sat in the darkness of the vault, analyzing his situation. Someone had entered Vault D. Was it temple staff? A guard? Or the man in the white shirt? But he saw that man leaving the corridor. Did he come back? Who were they really? Sachin wondered. Find new young recruits for the organization, the man had said. What organization had the power to access the Padmanabhaswamy temple corridors at 3 a.m.? Were they the reason the specialized Cobra lock on the Vault B entrance had never been opened? Or were they the reason the court ordered the vaults to be opened for the audit? It may have been a temple official who entered Vault D, Sachin reassured himself. He could remain inside the vault through the day and attempt escape the next night. Sachin checked his watch. 4:33 a.m. He pulled out his phone. He opened the control app for the Axis Vidius. The tiny drone, currently perched on a stone high above in the temple complex, whirred to life. Sachin watched the feed on his screen. His heart skipped a beat. The temple complex was in lockdown. All 4 gates, east, west, north, south, were shut. He saw security officers and commandos running back and forth. Confused devotees who had entered the temple for the morning puja were stranded inside the temple complex. Full containment. Whoever opened Vault D had discovered something. They knew. They might not know who was inside or where exactly he was, but something had triggered an alarm. Did they spot the scrape of the stone when he shut the trapdoor and locked it? Sachin instinctively reached for the Bacardi again, but this time his discipline won. He pushed the bottle away, but his fingers involuntarily tightened around his Glock 25. He considered all the possibilities he had. He had 3 options. Option 1, the suicide run. Climb back up into Vault D, shoot his way through the guards if he found any, and try to breach the perimeter wall. Result? Impossible. He had a Glock with limited ammo against a battalion of commandos. Option 2, the waiting game. Stay in Vault B, hope the security relaxed. Result, death by dehydration. The air was clean, but without water, his cognitive functions would collapse within 24 hours. He was already feeling the dry, sandpaper grit of thirst in his mouth. Also, he had to accompany the kids to Delhi. You're in a life or death situation, you idiot, and you are thinking about the kids? He cursed himself. That thought led to Option 3, the logical madness. The Padmatirtham Lake exit. He looked at the map Marthandavarma had drawn. The ancient engineering was brilliant. The temple's sacred pond wasn't stagnant. It was fed by an underground spring and drained through a hidden canal system to keep the water fresh. That ancient canal ran underground for about 800 meters east. Sachin compared the map of modern Thiruvananthapuram with the ancient drawing. The ancient canal passed mere meters away from a modern drainage line, a line infamous in the state. The Amaijanjan Thodu, the city's main sewage artery. It was an open wound of a canal that ran directly under Platform 2 of the Thiruvananthapuram Central Railway Station. It was the most polluted body of water in Kerala. It was a toxic soup of septic waste, medical refuse, needles, and urban filth. Sachin shuddered, remembering a news report from 4 years ago. A sanitation worker had fallen into that canal while cleaning it. His body wasn't found for days. The undercurrents and the sheer density of the waste had swallowed him whole. He still remembered it only because one of his students' fathers was on the rescue crew and got badly injured. That was his escape route, Sachin told himself. He had to swim through the pristine waters of the temple, breach the ancient wall, jump into the toxic sewage of the Amaijanjan Canal, and surface at the railway tracks to catch a moving train. It was insane. It was disgusting. It was the only way. But there was another problem. Catching a train at the station was out of the question. If the news about a robbery at the temple got out, the station would be under tight surveillance. Moreover, if he went in covered in sewage, he would be an instant suspect. He had to board the train while it was moving. He also wanted to avoid being spotted by passengers. He needed an empty compartment, and an empty train would be even better. He pulled out his phone again. He opened a secure messaging channel, the same dark web intermediary network Adam once introduced him to. Months ago, he had used them to manipulate railway allocations to ensure DWIG students were placed in 2 adjacent sleeper compartments. He remembered a detail. One compartment had been almost empty. Another had only a single passenger booking. He remembered them asking whether to cancel that too, and he said no. So they had complete control over the entire ticketing system, Sachin understood. He typed a request that would cost him a fortune, but money meant nothing if he was dead. He requested that they cancel all the tickets of the passengers except his. He also asked them not to register it in the railway system until the last moment, but that the passengers should receive cancellation SMS notifications. He sent the specific train number, 12625, the Kerala Express. It was overkill. It was paranoid. But he needed that specific entry point to be clear of witnesses when a man smelling of death climbed aboard. A minute later, the confirmation pinged. Done. Now the physical barrier. Sachin moved to the end of the U-bend tunnel. The trapdoor leading to the lakebed was ahead. Sachin examined the stone frame. It was lined with clay spheres, ancient explosives suspended in a fragile glass-like resin. Nitroglycerin. If he forced the door, the pressure change would crush the spheres. The explosion wouldn't just kill him, it would collapse the tunnel. He studied the triggering mechanics carefully. Centuries old, but still lethal. He had to disarm them. He took out his multi-tool. His hands were shaking slightly, the cocktail of adrenaline, exhaustion, and low blood sugar. Steady. Despite the screams from his rational brain, he took a sip of Bacardi. Then he carefully started scraping the wax seal of the first sphere. He disconnected it carefully. One down, he moved to the second, then the third. He worked for an hour in the cramped silence. The air grew heavy. Then suddenly, a metallic snap, movement. Out of the darkness of the wall, a rusty, spring-loaded blur snapped outward. Sachin didn't think. He reacted. He threw his head back and raised his hand instinctively to protect his face. Shh! A cold, burning line erupted across his right palm. He gasped, staggering back. A curved steel blade, concealed within the wall for 300 years, had swung out in a deadly arc. It missed his neck by inches, but it hadn't missed his hand. Sachin stared at his right palm. A deep, jagged gash ran from the base of his thumb to the end of his wrist under the pinky. Crimson liquid welled up, spilling over his calluses, dripping onto the ancient floor. The pain hit him a second later, a throbbing, white-hot scream from his nerves. He gritted his teeth, wrapping his hand tightly with a rag from his pocket to staunch the flow. Then, without a second thought, he poured some Bacardi into the wound. Marthanda Varma wasn't just a historian, he thought. He was a killer. He had anticipated that someone might disarm the explosives, so he left one last gift for the thief. He started looking for similar traps in the sealed entrance. End of chapter 53.
Thank you for watching Unraveling the Truth, A Journalist's Quest. Subscribe to stay updated on Sharika's journey. Stay tuned for the next part.